In 2024, China invested $818 billion in clean energy. That is more than the United States, the European Union, and the United Kingdom combined. But the money alone doesn't tell you the real story.
China's staggering clean energy industry. It is on track to have more than double the solar and wind capacity of Europe by 2025.
China now controls between 80 and 95% of every stage of the global solar supply chain. Polysilicon, wafers, cells, modules, the equipment that makes them, the inverters that connect them to your grid, all of that flows through Beijing. And recently, engineers working on Western power grids discovered something inside Chinese-made solar inverters that changes the entire conversation. Hidden cellular radios, undocumented, capable of bypassing firewalls and remotely shutting down power generation from the other side of the world. To understand how we got here and what it actually means for the energy systems you depend on, we need to pull apart a supply chain that most people have never looked at closely. What you find when you do is uncomfortable. In December 2025, a Chinese state-owned enterprise called CHN Energy finished connecting a 1 gigawatt solar installation to the grid off the coast of Shandong province in the Bohai Sea. 2.3 million solar panels, 11,700 steel piles driven into the seabed, an area covering over 1,200 hectares of shallow coastal water, total cost $1.2 billion. The headline called it the world's largest floating solar farm. Social media lit up. Some coverage framed it as proof that China had leapt ahead in renewable energy, and that the West was hopelessly behind. But the first thing you need to know is that the farm does not float. The panels sit on rigid steel platforms bolted to fixed piles in the seabed. True floating solar uses buoyant pontoons that move with the water. CHN Energy itself describes this as a fixed pile offshore photovoltaic project. The distinction matters because the engineering, the cost structure, and the scalability constraints are completely different. The second thing worth knowing? The claim that it powers millions of homes does not hold up. The developer estimates annual generation of 1.78 terawatt hours. Run that against actual Chinese household consumption and you get roughly 700,000 to 1.2 million households, not millions. And that generation figure has not been independently verified yet. We'll not have real performance data until late 2026 at the earliest. So, the project is real. The engineering is genuinely impressive, but the framing around it, both the hype and the panic, misses where the actual story is. Because one solar farm, however large, is a symbol. The supply chain behind it is a weapon. China's dominance over solar manufacturing did not happen by accident, and it did not happen quickly. This is 20 years of deliberate industrial policy executed with a consistency that no Western government has come close to matching. Start at the top of the supply chain. Polysilicon, the refined silicone that became solar cells. China produces 93.5% of the world's supply. 2 decades ago, that number was close to 0. Move down to ingots and wafers, the intermediate step where polysilicon gets shaped into the thin discs that capture sunlight. China's share, 95 to 97%. That is near total monopoly. Solar cells, 80 to 85%. Finished modules, over 80%. And every one of the world's top 10 solar manufacturing equipment suppliers is Chinese. How did this happen? Money and patience. Since 2011, China has poured over $50 billion into photovoltaic supply capacity. This is 10 times what Europe invested over the same period. In 2023 alone, Chinese companies added another $130 billion. China Development Bank provided $20 billion in direct financing to solar manufacturers. The result is a cost advantage that no one can touch. Chinese manufacturing costs run at roughly 45% of American costs and 55% of European costs. When you make the same product for half the price and you control the raw materials, the equipment and the factories, competition looks very different from the outside. But cost is only part of the equation. The other part is speed. In 2024, China installed 277 gigawatts of solar domestically. That is more than twice what the entire rest of the world added. China exported a record 240 gigawatts of panels the same year. And Beijing's target of 1,200 gigawatts of combined solar and wind capacity by 2030, a target that was supposed to be ambitious, was reached in 2024, 6 years ahead of schedule. By mid-2025, China's combined wind and solar capacity surpassed its thermal power capacity for the first time. In the first half of 2025 alone, China installed 210 gigawatts of solar. To put that in perspective, that 6-month figure exceeds the entire cumulative solar capacity the United States has ever built. Now, those numbers sound like a clean energy success story. And in some respects they are, but the picture gets far more complicated when you look at what China is doing at the same time. In 2024, China began construction of 94.5 gigawatts of new coal-fired power plants. That is the fastest pace of new coal construction in a decade. China accounted for 93% of all coal plant construction starts globally that year. An additional pipeline of 291 gigawatts of coal capacity sits in various stages of planning and approval. On the surface, this looks like a contradiction. Why would a country investing more in clean energy than anyone else simultaneously build coal at record pace? The answer reveals a strategy that most Western commentary misses entirely. In 2021, China experienced severe power shortages. Factories shut down, traffic lights went dark in some cities. That event traumatized Chinese policymakers. The official justification for new coal is that these plants serve as flexible backup for intermittent renewable generation, a reliability cushion. But look at the data more closely. Over 90% of the coal plants receiving new permits are large-scale baseload units designed for continuous operation. They're not flexible assets. They're full-time power stations, and more than 75% of new coal capacity in 2024 was backed by coal mining companies protecting their market share, not by grid operators requesting backup power. So the strategy becomes clearer. Dominate the future of energy by controlling the solar supply chain and building renewable capacity at record speed, while maintaining coal as a flexible floor and political concession to the domestic coal industry. Energy security maximization, bet on everything, depend on nothing external. The positive signal is real. Coal's share of Chinese power generation dropped to a historic low of 51% in June 2025. Clean energy sources met all new electricity demand growth in the first half of that year. Power sector emissions may have peaked, but the coal plants already under construction will come online regardless, creating overcapacity and, potentially, billions in stranded assets. Now that coal contradiction matters because it shapes how you should think about China's clean energy ambitions. They are genuine, and they're strategic. The two things coexist. But the layer of this story that should concern you most has nothing to do with coal and everything to do with what is already connected to power grids across Europe and North America: solar inverters. An inverter converts the direct current produced by solar panels into alternating current that the grid can use. Every solar installation needs them, and roughly 70% of inverters installed globally in 2023 were made in China. In 2024 and early 2025, US-based energy security experts discovered something troubling. Undocumented cellular radios embedded inside Chinese-manufactured inverters that were already connected to Western power grids. These devices were not listed in product specifications. They were capable of bypassing firewalls, and in theory, they could enable remote communication with the inverters, including remote shutdown without the grid operator's knowledge or consent. This was not a theoretical concern. In November 24, a commercial dispute between inverter suppliers Solarc and Dai reportedly led to solar inverters in the United States being disabled remotely from China. A commercial dispute triggering remote shutdowns of energy equipment on American soil. The scale of the exposure is staggering. Over 200 gigawatts of European solar capacity is connected through Chinese-made inverters. That is the equivalent generation capacity of more than 200 nuclear reactors. Solar Panel Europe and the risk analysis firm DNV have warned that compromising as little as 3 gigawatts of inverter-linked capacity could destabilize Europe's entire power grid. Lithuania has already passed legislation to block Chinese remote control access to its energy installations. The rest of Europe has not. Keep those numbers in mind, because the geographical leverage they represent goes well beyond solar panels. The comparison that keeps appearing in political papers from the IEA, Chatham House, CSIS, and the Carnegie Endowment is OPEC, is OPEC. China's grip on the solar supply chain, these analysts argue, gives Beijing leverage comparable to what oil-producing nations held in the 70s. But with a key difference: manufacturing ecosystems are harder to replicate than oil wells. And China has demonstrated a willingness to use supply chains as leverage before. In 2010, during a territorial dispute with Japan over the Sakanu Islands, China imposed an informal embargo on rare earth exports. Prices spiked tenfold. Japan's auto industry scrambled. More recently, in December 24, China banned exports of gallium and germanium to the United States, two materials essential for semiconductors and defense electronics. China produces 94% of the world's gallium and 83% of its germanium. The solar-specific version of this leverage extends beyond simple supply restriction. Consider the countries most dependent on floating solar technology to meet their energy goals: Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Indonesia, and Pacific Island nations. These are among the most geopolitically sensitive countries vis-à-vis China, US allies, territorial dispute participants, nations positioned alongside the South China Sea. If China dominates both the panels and platform technology, those nations face a dependency loop, where their entire clean energy transition runs through Beijing, and the delivery mechanism already exists. China's Belt and Road Initiative reached a record $93.9 billion in energy engagement in 2025. Solar and wind investment through BRI, $72.9 billion cumulative since 2013, now surpasses BRI coal investment. Chinese companies have moved from 70% to 60% of wind and solar capacity in top BRI markets, and could reach 80% by 2030. Each project builds economic dependency, diplomatic goodwill, and technical lock-in. That playbook should look familiar. It's the Huawei and 5G strategy applied to energy infrastructure. A Chatham House scenario paper has even modelled the possibility of China deploying massive floating solar arrays in the South China Sea, strengthening de facto territorial control of disputed waters under the cover of clean energy development, while offering cheap electricity to Southeast Asian neighbours. Given China's established pattern of using civilian infrastructure, fishing fleets, artificial islands to assert territorial claims, the scenario is speculative but grounded in documented behaviour. Meanwhile, the Western response has been uneven at best. After the Inflation Reduction Act, US solar manufacturing capacity surged to 51 gigawatts. That sounds significant until you realize the only operational American silicon cell manufacturer is a single 1 gigawatt Suniva factory in Georgia. The US has no domestic wafer production at all. Europe's solar manufacturers are in what Solar Power Europe has called an existential crisis. Some firms, they warned, have weeks of survival left. And in 2025, the trajectory reversed further. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed in July, accelerated the phase-out of Inflation Reduction Act clean energy incentives. US renewable investment dropped 36% in the first half of the year. American policy on clean energy manufacturing now changes direction with every administration, while China has maintained the same industrial strategy for 2 decades straight. That asymmetry, a 20-year strategy versus a 4-year political cycle, may be the single most important variable in this entire picture. So here is what the picture actually looks like when you put it all the pieces together. China controls 80 to 95% of the solar supply chain. It invested $818 billion in clean energy last year. It is building coal plants at the fastest rate in a decade and deploying renewables faster than the rest of the world combined. It has placed inverters with undocumented remote access hardware inside the power grids of its strategic competitors. And it's using Belt and Road to replicate that dependency across the developing world. The honest conclusion is uncomfortable. Slowing Chinese solar imports harm climate goals. Accepting them deepens strategic vulnerability. There is no cost-free option. The West retains real advantages in offshore wind patents, in fusion research, in next-generation battery design. Japan leads in battery technology advantage. Western companies still lead in floating solar platform engineering, but none of these advantages matter if the foundational supply chain remains in one country's hands. The most realistic path forward involves 3 tracks running simultaneously. Accepting managed dependency on Chinese panels for current deployment while securing the most dangerous choke points, especially inverters. Investing aggressively in next-generation technologies where supply chains have not yet been locked in, Pavorsky cells, advanced nuclear fusion, and building diversified supply chains with allied nations, India, Japan, South Korea, Australia, rather than chasing full independence. The 1 gigawatt solar farm in Shandong is real. The engineering is impressive, but the story that matters is not about one farm. The supply chain is the weapon, and whoever controls the energy architecture of the next 50 years controls far more than electricity prices. This is a story worth paying attention to. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.